Shalom family. So let's talk Israel, latest developments, what's happening. And it's interesting. There's a lot going down and you should be keeping your eyes on it and praying for Israel. President Trump wants to declare a Gaza ceasefire within days. Trump says he wants to end the war in Gaza as quickly as possible, with sources reportedly saying he could announce a ceasefire within the coming days. So in this week maybe. We want to see if we can stop it, and we've talked to Israel. We want to see if we can stop the whole situation as quickly as possible. Sky News Arabia and other news outlets in the region cited sources as saying there's a growing likelihood that Trump would announce a ceasefire in the coming days, and it would be part of a deal that would include the release of Israeli hostages, according to anonymous sources. It's going to be a great deal, great deal. We'll see. Netanyahu lays out conditions for ending the war. There are for certainty 20 living hostages left, 38 deceased. We will return them all. I'm ready to end the war according to clear conditions that will ensure the security of Israel. All the hostages will return home. Hamas will lay down its weapons, leave power. Its leadership will be exiled from the Strip. Gaza will be completely demilitarized, and we will carry out the Trump plan. The residents of Gaza who wish to leave will be allowed to leave. So it's going to be interesting to see how Netanyahu folds from pressure from America's side with whatever deals been made behind the scenes with MBS and the other Arab nations in the meantime, while Trump had his whole Middle Eastern tour minus Israel. So it's definitely going to be worth watching how this plays out. Britain suspended all trade talks with Israel over intolerable military operations. The level of suffering, innocent children being bombed, is utterly intolerable, Keir Starmer told the UK Parliament on Tuesday. I want to put on record that we're horrified by the escalation from Israel. We demand a ceasefire. We repeat our opposition to settlements in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and repeat our demand to massively scale up humanitarian assistance into Gaza. Who are you to demand anything from Israel, Mr. Starmer? Who do you think you are? You spouting inaccuracies and lies that you picked up from Hamas about children being bombed and things like that. It's really ridiculous. But yeah, we know what happens to countries that stand up against Israel and go against them 100%. We've seen this time and time again. We've done videos on this. Look and see what happens next. Church of England calls Israel's actions in Gaza a war of aggression and not defensive. The House of Bishops of the Church of England declared that Israel's military actions in Gaza constitute a war of aggression and can no longer be considered defensive. Released during a meeting in York, marks a strong critique of the ongoing conflict, describing the bombardment and blockade of Gaza as a grave sin that assaults God-given human dignity. This position reflects growing concern in the church about the humanitarian toll of the war and its broader implications for peace in the region. I wouldn't take much the Church of England says to the bank and bank on it, because I wouldn't even call them a church when you look at what they support and what they stand for. But now they want to make their voices heard as well, and also stand against Israel and lay the blame at Israel's feet. Jewish protester in London charged over placard that may offend pro-Hezbollah activists. The Crown Prosecution Service later dropped the charges, although the man's home was extensively searched and he was questioned by police. The protester was arrested by London's Metropolitan Police for a placard he held mocking the eliminated Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. The anonymous man was detained and charged for the cartoon, which featured Nasrallah and the words beep beep beep, a reference to the pager operation. Beep beep. And then they charged him and wanted to arrest him. They tossed his house and looked for other signs and everything in case he offends pro-Hezbollah people, even though Hezbollah is agreed upon to be a terrorist organization. So, really? France and Saudi Arabia working on a plan to disarm Hamas. Anonymous sources with knowledge of the discussions said that while plans are intended to bring about Hamas disarmament, they would not remove Hamas as a political organization from Gaza. Now that's a red line for Israel. They want Hamas completely out. There's no way they will stand for Hamas remaining in power in Gaza. But Saudi Arabia and France want to make that happen. Hamas would become a purely political entity that can still play a role in the future Palestinian governance. There's no way. No way. Are these people absolutely insane in their brains that they think Hamas, these vile terrorists, are going to play a normal, peaceful role in government with Israel on their border? Intelligence has left the building. Hamas faces deep financial crisis and is failing to pay the terrorists. Saudi outlet reports that Hamas has not paid the military operatives for 3 months and is struggling to fund basic operations amidst continued fighting in Gaza. See what happens when Israel fights and goes after Hamas? Things like that happen, which is really good. IDF strikes over 100 terrorist sites in Gaza as Gideon's chariots ramps up. The IDF dismantled the launcher used to fire a projectile at southern Israel on Friday. Among the targets that they hit were terrorist cells, rocket launchers, command and control centers, weapons storage facilities, and additional infrastructure. IDF troops killed several terrorists in Gaza while striking these compounds, weapon sites, and sniper posts. But don't worry, the world's going to be running with stories of hospitals and babies and children being murdered instead, because that's what they're going to be told by Hamas. Israel agrees to the Witkoff deal, but Hamas rebuffs proposal. The updated proposal is partially similar to previous proposals and talks about the release of 10 hostages and 15 bodies of deceased hostages in exchange for a 45 to 60 day ceasefire and the release of Palestinian prisoners. But it differs from previous proposals in that several new formulations have been added to make it clear that the ceasefire and hostage deal will begin a broader process that will lead to the end of the war. Again, Hamas stands against it completely. They're getting really good advice from the guys who gave Trump a plane. Syria and Lebanon could join the Abraham Accords before Saudi Arabia, says Israeli ambassador to the US. I'm very upbeat about the potential for an Abraham Accord with Syria and Lebanon, the ambassador said. I'm not. I've been watching Syria. I know what that leadership just did to innocent Christians and Druze all over the country. And you want to celebrate them becoming part of the Abraham Accords? Yeah, I think not. UN conference in June will try to pressure Israel to accept the two-state solution. A UN spokeswoman said Friday that an international conference to revive the idea of the two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict will take place from June 17 to the 20th at the United Nations headquarters in New York. According to the Times of Israel, the conference stems from a resolution approved in December by the UN General Assembly and France and Saudi Arabia co-chairing it. A diplomat in Paris close to preparations for the conference said it will pave the way for more countries to recognize a full-blown Palestinian state. Nearly 150 countries recognize the Ramallah-based Palestinian Authority as the State of Palestine, which has observer status at the UN, but not yet full member status. Joel 3 verse 2, I will gather all the nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. There I will enter into judgment against them concerning my people, my inheritance Israel, whom they scattered among the nations, and that they've divided up my land. Then the commander-in-chief of the Islamic Republic of Iran Army General Musavi has threatened Israel, saying that Iran's armed forces are fully prepared to carry out a new military operation against Israel if circumstances warrant it. He stressed that the response will be appropriate if Tel Aviv makes what he describes as a strategic mistake. So he knows Israel's about to hit them and hit them hard any time now. And if they do, this is his threat for the aftermath. And then the Israeli government is expected to approve the mobilization of up to 450,000 reserve soldiers that will run until August the 31st, 2025, right before the fall feasts kick into place. This is the largest mobilization ever, even larger than the beginning of the war on October 7, 2023. So things are tense, things are developing fast, troops are being called up, everything's in place. There's a big push and pressure on Hamas. Saudi Arabia and France trying to make plans to pressurize Israel into their two-state solution. America's playing in the background, making deals and trying to see what she can do. Lebanon and Syria, all these things going on, and the condemnation of Israel just growing stronger and stronger every day. And all of this coming to a head really fast and towards the end of 2025. Almost perfectly positioned and set up for someone to step in post-crisis and make an agreement with many, strengthen an existing agreement like the Abraham Accords, and bring peace to the region, allow the rebuilding of a third temple, for which, by the way, they have all the plans in place, everything ready to go, and the people prepared. They just need permission. So everything's there. Everything's in place. Everything's happening. And while we're still here, occupying until the Lord fetches us, pray for Israel. Shalom.